In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. And joining me today as my co-host is the Patriot from Nevada, the battle-born state, the Silver State, Sharon Angle. Sharon, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thank you so much, Rick. It's always such a pleasure with you and talking to our great audience in downtown Philadelphia and, of course, around the world on the Internet. We've got so many Internet partners, and it's such an easy thing to do to listen to the Conservative Commandos radio show now. We're just expanding all the time. So we're excited about having guests that people want to listen to and about bringing the truth, really, about what's going on in our nation and our relationship with the world as we have difficulties, if you will, with this president having any kind of foreign policy.
Amen. Sharon, what is on your radar screen this week?
Well, I suppose everybody's radar is a little tuned in to what happened last night with the Democrat debate. And, of course, the press is announcing Hillary Clinton as the winner, but Drudge had a poll, and it's interesting. The people that listen to Drudge or go to Drudge's website, 54% of them said Bernie Sanders won that poll, won that debate, and then Webb came in second, and Hillary Clinton was a distant third.
Wow.
Kind of interesting. Yeah. She got, according to this poll, she got 9%.
Wow.
Sanders got 54%. So, like I said, a distant third. But the press has been touting her as the big winner because she was able to at least bat down some of the criticism, and Bernie Sanders didn't attack her. And so they criticized Bernie for not attacking her on the places where she's vulnerable, and of course gave her then the win because he looked weak in their eyes. But according to the viewers, they said, nah, she didn't win.
I wonder if they should have put Joe Biden in that list. How many votes Joe Biden would have gotten for not even being there? I mean, when you talk about a winner of the debate or a winner in the debate or a winner of the debate, maybe they should have put Joe Biden's name in there just to see how many people think that the other candidates look so bad now that even Joe Biden looks good.
Well, I don't know. You know, they did decide the viewership debate, and 9 million Americans less, or if you want to say it the other way, 9 million more Americans watch the Republicans than watch the Democrats. So it's a kind of a ho-hum moment, I guess, for the American public. They really don't care as much as they do about what's going on with the Republicans, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe because there's better candidates on the Republican side, and maybe they just don't want to watch Hillary's action or Bernie Sanders. You know, what choice is there? You got a socialist, and then you've got somebody that can't tell the truth.
And you have a socialist who can't tell the truth, so nobody on that side can tell the truth.
That's right.
Well, I personally think, Sharon, and I think you saw this at the National Federation of Republican Assemblies Convention in Nashville, Tennessee, what a difference Donald Trump makes when he walks in the room.
That's right. He really does, and he's still making that difference. You know, it doesn't seem to matter. Everybody expects outrageous things to come out of his mouth, and the press, you know, they're spinning around now. Their heads are practically spinning off because they can't keep track of the latest outrageous thing that he said. They can't decide which one they're going to print, and so it is really kind of comical to watch the press react to him and to watch the steadiness of the other Republican candidates. They seem to now have found their place as far as being able to deal with Trump out there going crazy and the Democrats doing crazy things. And the only sane people in the room seem to be the other Republican politicians in the race. And that's actually a good thing for us, because I think at the end of the day, when we get down to November of 2016, the American people want a voice that is calm, that is willing to take on the hard problems and has a very strategic plan, and is not just going for the outrageous soundbite, but really has thought about what the President of the United States should be doing and has to do, being the world leader. And, you know, like it or not, Mr. Obama, that's who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I happen to think, Sharon, if Donald Trump was in that debate last night, they probably would have gotten 9 million more people. I'm not in Trump's
They might have, and it was kind of an interesting thing. He was tweeting about being on One American News Network, which that's one of those alternate news broadcasters that many people don't even think about, but there are alternatives to even Fox out there. And you know, we've had guests on that have said you really need to be careful and fact check Fox, even that they have some biases that you wouldn't really like.
Indeed. Well, I think since The Apprentice has been canceled by NBC, since Donald Trump has announced for the presidency, you know, The Apprentice probably would get 9 million viewers a week, so that's where I get the Trump effect. The Trump effect.
The Trump effect.
The Trump effect.
You should probably write an article for our website about the Trump effect, because you've been watching this for, well, really since CPAC in February. We've really been watching this, and you have an analysis at least once a week and possibly every day on this. So there's probably an article in you, Rick Trader, that would sum it all up for our audience.
Well, Sharon, it goes further back than that. It goes further back than CPAC. I can remember 4 years ago being at the Faith and Freedom Coalition Conference in Washington, D.C., and Donald Trump was there. And there was some speculation at that time that he might throw his hat into the ring, which he didn't, obviously. But the big name there at that event at that time 4 years ago was Donald Trump. And at that point, just about every Republican candidate running was there, was also there. Mitt Romney, Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum, Mike Pence. I mean, they were all there. Michelle Bachmann was there. They were all there. But the person that pulled the air out of the room for that crowd was Donald Trump. So,
he's an amazing celebrity.
He is an amazing celebrity.
Does have a certain amount of charisma.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. With saying that, I don't think he would make a great president. But as far as celebrity, as far as pulling air out of the room, I think he's the one. I'm worried about his policies, worried about his past policies. He's for higher taxes. He's for eminent domain. He's for Obamacare. So you got to look at this guy and find out more about him other than his bravado. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it 1,000,000 times, between now and the next election, we need a strong leader. We don't need a celebrity. We don't need somebody with a nice smile or a nice handshake. We need a leader. Somebody is going to put America first.
Right.
Somebody is going to put America first and think of America first. Hey, Sharon, with that, let's take a break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AM/FM247.com. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. Sharon and I will be right back. Don't go away.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJC.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And for a broadcast of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 6 p.m., log on to thepunditpress.com. You could also hear our show from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. My guest today is Sharon Engel. And Sharon, let's talk about our guest today, and I will lead off. Mike Gonzalez is a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation and is a widely experienced international correspondent, commentator, and editor who has reported from Asia, Europe, and Latin America. He served in the George W. Bush administration, first at the Securities and Exchange Commission and then at the State Department. His book, A Race for the Future, How Conservatives Can Break the Liberal Monopoly on Hispanic Americans, was published this past September. And Mike is joining us to discuss an article he has written, How Obama Has Divided America for Political Gains. So Mike Gonzalez will be joining us today at 3:35.
Well, and then at 4:05, Arthur Kane, who is Watchdog's Colorado bureau chief. Art Kane has been an award-winning investigative reporter in print and broadcast media for more than 2 decades. His work changed laws, resulted in indictments, and won national awards like the Peabody and 2 DuPont Columbia Awards, a national Emmy, and was repeatedly a finalist for the Investigative Reporters and Editors Award, a true freedom fighter for truth here. At the ABC affiliate in Denver, Art uncovered a gifts for contract scandal that sent several county officials and contractors to prison for as long as a decade. At watchdog.org, Art is focused on government misspending and waste, prompting the legislature to introduce several bills last year to fix problems uncovered by his work. His work has appeared on CNN, ABC News, Forbes, Fox News, and the Washington Times. And today, he's our guest to talk about a study of native health costs, taxpayers $15 million. Native health costs to taxpayers $15 million. And we're talking about a study of disparities between Native Americans and Alaskan Natives as taxpayers spend $15 million just on their health care.
Not just on their health care.
Interested in talking to him.
Well, not on just their health care, but it was comparing the health care between Native Americans and Alaska Natives. It was just a study comparing the health care. It wasn't even money being spent on their health care. Just a study.
So it will be interesting to see what Art Kane has uncovered, and he'll be our guest at 4:05. Then at 4:35, we have Jeffrey Dickens, who's the Deputy Research Director at Media Research Center, and he currently writes for all the MRC's publications and outlets, including MRC.org, Newsbusters.org, Notable Quotables, and has contributed to past projects including Media Watch and Magazine Watch. He also authored the MRC's Outgun Special Report that examined the media's bias against gun rights. Jeff has made several appearances on radio talk shows around the nation, and today he's going to talk about the Hillary debate last night and how CNN debate moderators hail Queen Hillary and trash the teabagging GOP. So we're going to talk to him about the questions that were asked at that debate. He had written an article before the debate talking about, I wonder how they're going to, how the bias is going to run on the questions. And now we'll get his take on how those questions really ran, if he was analyzing correctly, if he felt disappointed, or if he was pleasantly surprised by it, and then just how we will move forward on this now that the debate is over.
All right, so we have another great show lined up. And Sharon, we have a few minutes. Anything else on your radar screen?
Well, we did want to talk a bit, I think. Last week you mentioned that the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, of which I'm the president, has on their websites republicanassemblies.org or nationalrepublicanassemblies.com a scorecard for the presidential candidates. All 17 are there. We took 21 different criteria and just put them side by side and let you be the judge. Just the facts. But when you see these candidates side by side, things begin to come clear about who's who and what they've done and what they really haven't done. A lot of talk sometimes and no action, even with those that have a record. And then, of course, there are 3 in the race that have no record, so we don't know exactly where they stand on these issues. And if people are interested in how we made our choice, we've talked about it before, that the National Federation of Republican Assemblies are many, over half the states have chapters, and our many chapters got together and were able to come to a majority vote on an endorsement, and that majority is a supermajority. 2/3 of our membership said Ted Cruz. And that was after having the very charismatic Donald Trump show up and speak to us personally. He got a lot of votes. I have to say that our members were impressed that he came. They were impressed, of course, with his charisma and the way that he takes the things that are going on in this country head on. But in the final analysis, they said, Ted Cruz works out better on paper. His ability to lead and his ability to attack hard problems and in the face of a lot of opposition and not be fearful of being the only one standing for truth, really gained him the endorsement over the whole field, really.
All right. Sounds good. And, of course, why don't you give a way for people to contact the National Federation of Republican Assemblies?
Well, the best way is to go to our website, republicanassemblies.org or nationalrepublicanassemblies.com. Or you can go to my website, SharonEngle.com, and you'll see a button there, and it'll direct you to that website as well. So there's 3 3 or 4 ways that you can get to the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, and we do have membership at large. Mm-hmm. If there isn't a chapter in your state yet, you might want to become a member at large of the NFRA, or maybe you're just too far from your local unit distance-wise, and that would be an option for you as well to become a member of the National Federation of Republican Assemblies.
And, of course, as you Ted Cruz got their endorsement. And, Sharon, I'm looking at a report that comes from Heritage Action. It's a conservative scorecard. And, by the way, Senator Ted Cruz receives a 100% conservative rating from Heritage Action. So, if you're looking for a conservative to run for president, there it is. Hey, Sharon, we're up against our break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, Planet Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Don't forget, check out our website, ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com, and we'll be right back with our first guest, Mike Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation.
You heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sport Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free. Then it for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sport Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesport.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. we're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our show, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to rurradio.net. At 6 p.m., log on to thepunditpress.com. You could also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Our first guest today is Mike Gonzalez, a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and is a widely experienced international correspondent, commentator, and editor who has reported from Asia, Europe, and Latin America. He served in the George W. Bush administration, first at the Securities and Exchange Commission and then at the State Department. His book, A Race for the Future, How Conservatives Can Break the Liberal Monopoly on Hispanic Americans, was published in September. Mike, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Hello, Rick. Hello, Ms. Engel. How are you? Very happy to be here with you.
Well, we are grateful to have you with us here, Mike. September, was that September 2015, your book?
No, last year, 2014. So it's been out for 13 months.
All right. And, Mike, we've asked you to join us today to discuss an article that you have written, How Obama Has Divided America for Political Gains. You begin your column by saying, a politician being cynical is not exactly a, quote, man bites dog story, as 7 years of President Barack Obama has taught us. But when the president goes in front of a Hispanic audience and praises the Bush immigration law he personally helped to scuttle, cynicism reaches new heights. Mike, please tell us about this.
Well, my guys here had asked me to listen to the president's speech to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and it was going along, and then the president started speaking, and he began by telling a story about how Congressman Ed Roybal had been humiliated by a cop in L.A. 75 years ago, which I knew where he was going with that, and I wrote about it in my piece as well. But it was when he really started talking about George W. Bush's immigration law. And what a good law that was, he said. And, shouldn't Republicans listen to that back then? That really, because, hang on, my memory began to trickle back. I was in the administration then. It was Obama who helped kill that law. So I thought, this is just too much. I got to write about this because politicians of any party, of any stripe, should not be allowed to get away with stuff like this.
Well, Mike, thank you for calling on this. Thank you for writing this article. But that's a little bit of two-faced, isn't it? I mean, gosh, to praise a law that he helped to defeat and then say, Republicans should listen to George W. Bush. Could you tell us what was in that law? First of all, what was in that law that you feel was good, and why did Barack Obama shoot it down when he was in the Senate?
It was a law that many conservatives didn't like, actually, because it had an amnesty provision, but it also had something that many conservatives do like, which is a guest worker program, like we had with the Bracero program that Cesar Chavez got LBJ to kill in 1965, leading to the legal immigration crisis that we have today. But unions like Cesar Chavez said, unions hate guest worker programs, especially guest worker programs that work well. I should add, parenthetically, there were some problems with the Bracero program, but it could have been fixed and not ended. But anyway, the unions hated it, and the unions hated the guest worker provisions in 2006 and 2007. So they created this poison pill amendment, the Byron Dorgan amendment, which got rid of the guest worker provision, and that was going to kill the bill. Everyone knew it was going to kill the bill. Bob Novak, the great columnist, wrote about it, and I quote Bob Novak in the story that I wrote, because Bob Novak said that Obama, in a way, provided the vote. The amendment passed 49-48, and the bill died. So, I mean, it really is the height of cynicism. And by the way, this has been pointed out before. McCain pointed this out when he first ran against Obama in 2008, and nobody paid attention then. And it's just, but I'm not, when I hear stuff like that, I just at least I have to make the record clear.
Mike, so you've got two sides, two very big factions of the Democrat Party, sort of butting heads on this issue of guest worker. On one side, you got the unions, and then you got the Hispanic community and liberals on the other, who are fighting to kill this guest worker program. Am I seeing this correctly?
Well, I think that, first of all, I should say that I hardly ever use the term Hispanic myself, because it's way too general. Okay. Even to say Cuban Americans or Mexican Americans is way too general. You have important distinctions among generations and geographical distinctions. To reach a commonality of interest, it has to be a stretch. But a quote-unquote Hispanic that looked at the interests of the country, and this is how you have to look at every law, right? Does it help America? Is this a law of any kind? Domestic, international, whatever. Does this help this country? And would it then, second, would it help people who are looking for work, but not necessarily to move to this country, Mexico? And a guest worker program would do that. It would offer temporary, people who came here, worked temporarily, and then went back to their homes in Mexico. It can be argued, and many conservatives do argue, that this is something that some of our industries do need, and that the people do not. They don't want to. By the way, immigrating is a really hard thing to do. Immigrating is a difficult thing to do. So many people don't want to immigrate. They would not mind, however, coming here, doing and then going back to their families. So that is what I don't know why anybody. I know why the unions don't like it. Guest workers don't become union members, don't pay union dues. That's what they don't like.
Well, what I was getting at, Mike, it seems like the unions, being big supporters of Obama versus people who are for a guest worker program. Generally, I see this setting up as a division within the Democrat Party created by Barack Obama. Mike, you mentioned this incident 75 years ago that Barack Obama brought up about a former congressman being humiliated by the Los Angeles Cons. I also saw that as another way that Barack Obama is dividing communities and also helping to divide America. Why do things like that isolated incidents that happened 75 years ago, what do you think Barack Obama's motive is for bringing that up now?
Oh, That's what the left must do. The left must tell people, you are aggrieved. This is a bad country. It's a bad society. We need to all hang together. We need to all, we need to all pull in the same direction, and we need to change the country. We will help each other here, but you need, so this is the message that the left in here and in Europe has always given. Like, we will help you. Because alone, without us, without the government, you cannot do it alone. And let me just say, because Obama is, the one thing about it, he's pretty transparent about this. He said that Roybal, by the way, he apparently the story is true. He was humiliated by a cop 75 years ago. It shouldn't have happened. This kind of stuff did not need to happen, and it shouldn't happen. But here is the money quote, right? President Obama said Roybal understood that, quote, we are stronger together than we can ever be alone. And that's the same reason I ran for this office 8 years ago, because I believe we can do together. And so that is the message. That's the reason why you peddle grievances, you become a grievance monger, and then you come back with this. And he does it quite nakedly here. There's no hidden hand here. This is all very transparent. And this, by the way, this is the same president that in 2010 very famously, infamously, told Univision that Hispanics are enemies and reward your friends. So that's also crystal clear.
And we've seen many examples of that in his administration. And you could take it how the IRS has been used to punish the enemies of the administration, the EPA. The Secret Service has used tactics to punish its enemies. Hey, Mike, we got to take a quick break. Could you hold on for us for just 2 minutes?
Yes, of course. Yes, I can, yeah.
All right. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader. And we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AMFM247.com. Our guest this segment is Mike Gonzalez. He's a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and we're talking about how Obama has divided America for political gains. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is we must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com at 1 p.m., roarradio.net, or 6 p.m., thepunditpress.com. Our guest this segment is Mike Gonzalez. He's a senior he is a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and he's the author of the book, A Race for the Future, How Conservatives Can Break the Liberal Monopoly on Hispanic Americans. Mike, thanks for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me over. It's very enjoyable to speak to you.
Well, thank you, Mike. Mike, has anyone, to your knowledge, ever asked Barack Obama, why are you speaking so highly out of Bill that you helped kill? Has anyone ever asked him that question?
No, I don't know if anyone ever did, but I know the Washington Post does these truthometers thing that they give Pinocchios,
right?
And they did one on this issue a long time ago, actually, about 5 years ago. And it said that the claim by McCain was mostly true. Mm-hmm. That yes, this was a vote against the bill. He voted for the poison bill, and that amendment helped kill the bill. Now that wasn't the only thing that killed the bill, but I remember very well, because I have a good memory, that it was a real stake through its heart, and that Barack Obama was a deciding vote. But let me go back.
Sure.
If I may, to what
Absolutely.
he was doing by spreading grievances. Look, people, humans can be bad. There's no question about that. We can be bad to each other. We can be mean to each other. We're not angels, as Madison observed. If humans were angels, there would be no need for government. But there's another way that he can tell the story. He can say that the promise of the United States, the promise of the Declaration, that we're all created equal, is really what allows this government to correct itself, to reform itself. I think Lincoln said something similar with regards to the Civil War, that people, Hispanics are immigrants. They came here because they wanted to be here. People like my family wanted to be here because of its prosperity. My family's case, because of its freedom. And even the very few Mexican Americans who have been here for several generations, there were about 100,000, an estimated about 100,000 Mexican Americans in 1848 after the Mexican War. They chose to stay. They were given Mexican Americans in the new territories were given a choice whether to go to Mexico or to remain in these lands, and they decided to stay in these lands. So there really is no comparison with African Americans, for example, who were brought here in chains. People have come here. America, for all its warts, and nothing created on earth is ever going to be perfect.
Right.
But America, for all its warts, is still what Lincoln called the best place, the best hope for man on earth.
Yeah.
And we, our leaders especially, should use every occasion to point this out, not denigrate us.
Well, Mike, let me tell you a little bit of a personal story. My first white ancestor into the New World was a young boy about 15 years of age who was kidnapped out of the streets of London and brought here to the New World against his will. He was made an indentured slave. But I got to be honest with you, Mike. I thank God that happened, because I'm here now and I see this as the greatest country ever created on God's blue-green planet. Anybody who is here, no matter if it is by their will or somebody else's, I would think and I would like to think they would rather be here than anywhere else in the world.
You know, what year was that, by the way, when you were at
It was in 1635.
1635?
1635, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite an amazing story, actually. Yeah, my wife and I have traveled around many towns in Maryland that were founded by indentured laborers.
Well, you know, it was, he came into Accomack County, Virginia, which is right below the Maryland border on the eastern shore.
Right. No, there's some towns like I think Oxford and Cambridge that were found by families that were brought from Scotland when they had they had the clearances, and they brought a lot of Scots as indentured laborers.
Yeah,
absolutely right. I mean,
and I thank God that circumstances are that I'm here today. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Hey, Mike. By the way, we're speaking with Mike Gonzalez. He's a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. We're discussing his article, How Obama Has Divided America for Political Gains. Mike, I want to bring Sharon Engold, my co-host, into this conversation. I know she'd like to talk with you. Sharon?
Hello, Ms. Engold. How are you? We have met in the past.
Yes, we have, Mike. I'm so glad to have you on the show today. It's been great listening to you and Rick talk about our common ancestry. I have to say that all of us that are here can have an immigrant story that we can tell, and usually it has to do with poverty and a desire for the American dream, a desire to be better, a desire for the things that the Constitution guarantees us in this country, and truly no other country in the world has this kind of constitution that we have. There is freedom, but we truly are the most free of nations. And so it's almost diabolical when we watch this president undermining that nation of immigration by trying to divide us. And so I'm so glad that you wrote this article and just pointed it out, that we have that one thing in common, and it should unite us rather than divide us. But there was the end sentence in your article. Everything he says and every policy he enacts has these goals in mind. What are those goals? Tell us precisely what you see as the goal of all this division. Where is he going, and what does he gain politically, especially now that he is a lame duck, if you will? It seems like there's not much more that he can do, and yet he persists, pursues it, and our Congress seems to just back away from it. So talk a little bit about those goals and how he politically gains from all this.
Well, I must say that it is still to be seen, and we will see whether President Obama, after he leaves office, will be like George W. Bush, who never comments, just stays out of the way, and has been a true gentleman, has let his successor govern without really sniping. We will see whether, and maybe he will, maybe he won't, but we will see in the next few years whether President Obama has that temperament, is able not to comment and to say, I told you so. It was instructive that in this speech that I wrote about on Thursday, he was still attacking President Bush, except for that one law he said he liked that he helped kill. But he's had power for 7 years now. What is happening in Syria, what is happening with the economy, what is happening everywhere, it's his doing, and yet he refuses to own it. I think what the left, as I was saying earlier to Rick, the left needs to create a narrative that this is what the hate doesn't like. What's the norm, right? It wants to say that society is broken and society must be made anew, and that we need a new man. So it must create a narrative that this country has been racist. This country has had many problems, and as I say to you, this country has had problems. But as we agree, warts and all, and problems and all, it's still the best hope for man on earth. It's the best country on earth, and our leaders all the time. So, when the left and President Obama was very clear, he said we need to hang together. We need to hang together with each other. The things that we can do together. And he said that right after he told the story of Ed Roybal. And there's no, this is not a coincidence. He thinks that they can do things together. There are different groups. Whereas conservatives, I think, of both parties, conservatives in both parties tend to look at the nation as one nation, a nation made up not of individuals necessarily, but a nation made up of families, a nation made up of communities. And these communities are not functional communities. They're not the Asian community, the Hispanic community, the Cuban-American community, the Chinese. No, they are communities as in a neighborhood, an actual community, a physical place where families volunteer, families pitch in. So I think conservatives generally tend to look at a nation made up of communities and individuals and families. And the left, liberals, progressives, tend to look at a nation made up of functional communities that have their own views on things, which is really patronizing. I mean, to say that I will have this view, I will have that view because my parents were born in Cuba and I was born in Cuba, and I will see some things differently. No, I'm an individual. I am, I have a family. I'm a father. I'm a Catholic. I'm an American. I'm a conservative.
Mike, I hate to interrupt, but we're out of time for this segment, and I wanted to give you an opportunity for you to please tell our audience where they can go to read your article and also to get your book, A Race for the Future, How Conservatives Can Break the Liberal Monopoly on Hispanic Americans.
They can go to heritage.org. They want to buy my book. They go to Amazon. They can go Amazon. I think would be the best place. Barnes & Noble carries it as well. If they want to go to a physical, brick and mortar place and buy it.
Right.
And heritage.org has many. And the Daily Signal has many good stories. DailySignal.com has really great articles too.
Absolutely.
The website of the Heritage Foundation, the news agency of the Heritage Foundation.
Mike Gonzalez, I want to thank you for being our guest here on Conservative Commando's radio show. I hope you'll come back, Mike. I'd really like to talk to you more about your book and talk about what you can do to break that monopoly.
Well, listen, thank you very much for having me.
Take care. God bless.
Bye.
You are listening to the Conservative Commando's radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our shows, check out our websites or log on to CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, or AM FM 24/7. Don't go away. On the other side, we'll be speaking with Arthur Kane.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. For freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that it's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, AC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And Rick, we have our next guest ready to go. He is Arthur Kane. It's my pleasure to introduce him to our audience. Arthur Kane is Watchdog's Colorado Bureau Chief. Art Kane has been an award-winning investigative reporter in print and broadcast media for more than 2 decades. His work changed laws, resulted in indictments, and won national awards like the Peabody, 2 DuPont Columbia Awards, and a National Emmy, and was repeatedly a finalist for the Investigative Reporters and Editors Award. At the ABC affiliate, in Denver, Art uncovered a gifts for contract scandal that sent several county officials and contractors to prison for as long as a decade. At watchdog.org, Art has focused on government misspending and waste, prompting the legislature to introduce several bills last year to fix problems uncovered by his work. His work has appeared on CNN, ABC News, Forbes, Fox News, and the Washington Times. Arthur Kane, welcome to Conservative Commando's radio show.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, Art, to have you here, and really interested in this latest that you've done on a study of Native healthcare costs that have actually cost us $15 million, and none of that went to healthcare. Explain what went on there, Art.
Well, I was looking at NIH grants, National Institute of Health grants, and I just in Colorado found quite a few things that were, I don't know, I guess a lot of people thought was questionable, from a grant judging the disparities of Native Americans in the lower 48 in Alaska, which over the last 10 or 12 years has cost about $15 million, to studies about health in Zimbabwe and Bangladesh, studies that the author of the studies basically conceded aren't going to help anybody in the United States, but may help people in Zimbabwe, so taxpayers are paying millions more for that. So I kind of wrote a series of stories about what the NIH is doing with your money.
And so now what are they doing with this $15 million?
Well, they're doing a lot of... I wasn't able to talk to the person who was doing the study because he didn't return my calls, but seems like they're sending people up there to study the health and try to get motivate people to, encourage them to go to public health clinics and things like that. And then basically, from what I could tell just from the reports on the NIH site, is that they basically want to find out if Native Americans in the continental United States are as healthy or less healthy than the Native Americans in Alaska. And it just seemed to me that there might be some better use of taxpayer money than doing something that esoteric. And there was, I guess, apparently there was some preliminary health stuff provided with it, and didn't break out how much, but it seemed like that was a pretty minor part of any of the grants.
Well, and it seems like this isn't stopping anytime soon. They got some more funding this year. Is that correct?
That's true. The NIH has $30 billion that it hands out nationwide. And this particular grant has been getting about $1 million a year since 2003, and I don't see any. Like I said, I wasn't able to talk to the person who was doing the research, but I assume that's going to continue. It seems like just from the way he wrote the grant, is he's going to keep getting that money every year, and taxpayers are going to be paying for that.
So, how do we get this stopped? You've been actually a critical component in getting some of this stopped. And have you any designs on stopping this, or are you in the preliminary stages? Where are we at?
Well, it's not my job. It's my job to report it, and so it's not really my job to stop it. That would have to be something that Congress would do, or people who are outraged by this kind of spending would contact their Congress people and let them know that they want it stopped. That's pretty much the only way I would suspect it would stop. But my job is just to kind of get the information out there so people, taxpayers and voters, know what's going on with their money.
So you expose it now. We have the job of making sure that our legislators understand that we don't like our money being spent this way. So you're just the guy that tells the truth and exposes that truth.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't have time to look through.
Right, and that's true.
Know.
I think we don't do a lot of that research ourselves because we aren't able to. But you there at watchdog.org, you're committed to this, to exposing these things that happen with our taxpayer dollars. And it's interesting to me that they're not doing anything really with these findings. So it's just a $1 million expenditure that we really haven't seen any returns on. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they even expect returns. I mean, I think what I was struck by when I was calling all these researchers, and like I said, I highlighted, this wasn't the only study I highlighted. I highlighted about a half dozen different studies that seemed to be questionable. What I was struck by when I was calling the researchers and I called NIH is none of them would talk to you. I mean, they're spending millions and millions and millions of taxpayer dollars, and they don't want to be accountable for what they're doing with that money. And the NIH basically just issued a statement that said nothing other than these studies are peer-reviewed. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, the people who are handing out the money are the same ones who are benefiting from a lot of these grants, and so what's the motivation for them to be more picky about who they provide that money to? I mean, there are probably a lot of grants there that are worthwhile and will help health and people in the United States, but the ones that I picked out were ones that I thought, just by reading them, that probably are not worth the money that the taxpayers are spending on.
Hey, Mike, Rick Trader here. And, you know, when somebody doesn't return your phone call, that should tell you a lot, right?
Yeah, it does. And it happens, it almost exclusively happens on the federal level. If I'm writing about a federal agency, their PR people will not only will not return our calls, will give us a flat, will not answer detailed questions, will give us a flat statement that usually says nothing, and often will ask us not to even publish the name of the PR person who emailed us that statement. I mean, and remember, these are all people who are working for the taxpayers. Everybody at NIH is being paid for by your or my dollars. When I was writing about Small Business Administration or Exim Bank, all of those people are also being paid for, but they just don't want to defend their jobs, especially not on the record. And I always find that unusual. If they think they're doing a good job, you should probably put your 2 cents in there because, you know, your side needs to be expressed too.
Well, Mike, I'm sure Sharon will agree. A lot of these people, when they get these federal government jobs, it takes a lot for them to lose it. You know, Mike, you point out in your article here that the National Institute of Health has a $30 billion budget. That's incredible to me, a $30 billion budget. And when in reading that and then reading about your article here, a study of native health cost taxpayers $15 million. And this was a study, disparities between Native Americans and Alaskan natives. You know, Mike, I wonder if in a lot of these situations where you have these big departments with these huge budgets, they feel they got to spend it somewhere. They can't give it back to the taxpayer because if they did that, maybe somebody along the line will say, well, gee, maybe we can cut their budget next year. Your thoughts on that? Hello, Arthur? Well, Sharon, I think we lost Arcane, and what we'll do is we'll just go to a break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AMFM247.com. And now you can listen to our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. On the other side, I think we have Arthur Kane back with us, and we'll pick up the conversation. We'll be right back. They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at Bob's Little Sports Shop.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., you can log on to Leading Edge Radio Network. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net, or 6 p.m., thepunditpress.com. You can also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. We have Arthur Kane back. He's Watchdog, Colorado's bureau chief, and we're discussing his article that taxpayers spent nearly $15 million to study the health disparities between Native Americans and Alaskan Natives. Art, thanks for coming back. We appreciate that.
Sorry about that.
Well, that's we tell the NSA, and that's where some of our tax money goes. Please don't interrupt our show. We send them a copy of our show at the end of each day. They keep doing that to us. And other than that, that's life in live radio. Art, before we were interrupted, I asked you the question about this, and I'll re-ask it. I don't know if you heard it or not before we were interrupted, that the National Institute of Health has a budget of $30 billion a year. And when I see agencies with big budgets like this, I wonder if they don't try to spend every stinking little last penny, and that's where some of the programs and studies come from, because God forbid they give any money back to the taxpayer, because somebody might come up with the idea, maybe next year they don't need as much money. What's your thoughts on that, Art?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a tendency for government to spend everything they've got, or else someone's going to look and say, well, maybe you don't need a bigger budget, and they always, bigger budgets always means more power and more clout for them. So I think that's definitely the case. Now, I've been told that it's very hard to get an NIH grant. They only accept about 10% of the ones that apply. If that's the case, I really wonder who else is applying and what's getting turned away. But it does seem like, and like I said, there was a lot of grants that I looked through that some of which I couldn't even understand because I'm not a scientist.
Right.
Hey, maybe the next cure for cancer. But there are also, I mean, $15 million for one small state like Colorado. And if you look at the other two stories, it probably is a total of $30 or $40 million that I found. That's a significant amount of taxpayer money that could probably be either spent better or not spent at all and taken and given to the debt, you know. And debt and deficit.
Art, you know, in looking through that study, what types of, and I know you didn't understand them all, but did you see some things in there that would really be valuable to people?
In the Native American study, or just in general?
In general. Or in this Native American study.
Yeah, in general, I mean, there's a lot of studies about, you know, how cells operate, how they reproduce, how cancer, you know, starts, which could, you know, to the right scientific mind, find a way to cure something like that down the line.
Right.
It's hard to quantify, though, because I'm not a scientist, which ones are legitimate and which ones aren't, because I would have to know the history of every one of these studies and know whether or not this has already been done before or whether it's already been proven and someone's redoing it, and whether there's any practical benefits. But they definitely, just looking through 2 years of studies, they definitely, a large amount stuck out that were definitely questionable, even with my limited scientific knowledge.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we're speaking with Arthur Kane. He is Watchdog's bureau chief. And Art, in this article, there's a related article about Golden Company gets $2.2 million in taxpayer grants to study UV exposure. Is that your story also?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the, I did a 3-part series on the NIH grants I found just because there's so much to do. This study in Golden, which is a suburb of Denver, 3 grants, one of which was to help workplaces put together a sun safety policy, so for people who work outdoors. A lot of people I talked to after that said basically, well, get some sunscreen and a hat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Art, what does common sense cost? You know, if you're going to be in the sun, you wear a hat, you wear a sunscreen. My gosh, you turn on the TV at any time of the day during the summer, somebody's screaming about protect your skin, protect your skin. I don't know that God bless this. When you say Golden, you mean Golden, Colorado, right? Golden Company?
Right,
yeah, God bless this Golden Company, this Golden Colorado company for getting $2.2 million in taxpayer money. I don't know what effect that's going to have on the economy of Golden, Colorado. But my gosh, Art, come on, people, use a little sense. Hat, sunscreen, shade tree, stay out of the sun. What's it take? $2 million to tell people that?
Well, I found the other interesting thing I found going to that same company, it was that they got $200,000 to create an app, you know, a smartphone app, so that Latinas couldn't find walking partners, because he said that Latinas are more overweight than white people. So
how much money?
Help people, $200,000.
$200,000 for an app. And I don't know why, I've never created an app, but I've seen people create websites. I don't know how much that it costs to create. It costs you nothing to create a website. You go to Wix.com, you can create a website. I don't know, Art, what's it take to create an app?
I don't know, but I don't know that I want my money creating an app that's that specific, because, I don't know that finding walking partners is going to really can help people lose weight. You know, you can go to the shelter, get a dog, and go running with them every day, and that may help you lose weight more than an app, and no tax money is spent, and the dog gets rescued. So,
well,
the solutions other than spending the taxpayer money.
Yeah, go to Craigslist. Put it out on Craigslist, looking for a friend. Join a dating service. Put something on Facebook. Go to a park. Walk around. I'm sure there are people there that you can make friends with. Hey, Sally, James, let's get together once a week and walk the park. It doesn't take $200,000 of taxpayer money. Every time I hear these numbers, Art, I like to try to break it down. How many taxpayers, how many incomes from taxpayers it takes for the federal government to create an app for $200,000? I mean, my gosh, excuse me, Art, it just blows my mind. I guess it does to you, too.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely stuck out and caught my attention when I realized that taxpayers were paying for something like that. Because, apps are created every day. If you look on your Google Play or your iTunes, you can see all kinds of free apps that you get. So clearly, the costs are not prohibitive to create these things, or else people wouldn't be creating them, for free.
And again, this was for Hispanic people to find walking partners, and their justification that Hispanic people are heavier than non-Hispanic people. You know what else ticks me, Art? Okay, we're supposed to be a colorblind country. It ticks me off when things are done for special interest groups. I don't care if they're black, white, male, female, Christian, Jewish. The whole idea that they create an app specifically for one segment of the population, favoring that segment over the population over others. I don't know.
Well, I think it's also, it's kind of it's probably a trendy thing that would help them their grant application, come to the top and get funded by saying, okay, we're helping this demographic that we find is, has more diabetes and is overweight. So this is why we need this money, is to help this particular demographic. So it's probably part of their pitch when they're selling this grant application to get their money, or actually to get our money.
Well, Art, a couple times a day during the show, I want to bang my head on this microphone out of frustration. And thank you, Arthur Kane from Colorado's Watchdog Bureau Chief, for creating one of these. I want to bang my head. Thank you so much, Art.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hey, Art, before you go, tell our audience where they can go to read your stuff.
Watchdog.org is the website. If you go under the Colorado page, on the top there'll be states. Most of my stuff appears on the Colorado page there.
Art Kane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks. Mm-hmm.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. Mr. John Forsythe Jr. working the boards for us. And we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AM FM 24/7. And don't go away. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Jeffrey Dickens from the Media Research Center about last night's debate. Be right back.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to Leading Edge Radio Network, or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net, or at 6 p.m., log on to thepunditpress.com. You could also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Sharon Engel, we do have our next guest with us, in the honor of the introduction to yours, so please take it away.
It is my pleasure to introduce Jeffrey Dickens, who's the Deputy Research Director at Media Research Center. He currently writes for all of the MRC's publications and outlets, including mrc.org and newsbusters.org. Notable quotables, and has contributed to past projects including Media Watch and Magazine Watch. He's also authored the MRC's Outgun Special Report that examined the media's bias against gun rights. Jeffrey has made several appearances on radio talk shows and around the nation. Jeffrey Dickens, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thanks for having me back on, guys.
Well, it's always our pleasure to have you here in articles. The first one, you said it will be interesting to see how Anderson Cooper moderates in last night's debate. And then the second one, you made the commentary on how he did, the job that he did. So kind of take us through those two articles a little bit on what you expected to happen, and did that happen exactly as you expected, or did he do a better job than you thought?
Well, I will say right off the bat, he didn't do as bad of a job as I was thinking. I actually thought he did ask some tough questions. Keep in mind, it was a Democratic debate, so more of the issues would be more presented towards, Democratic. I said if you want to criticize, you could say that, the idea of bringing up climate change, that's I think an issue that's just has been debunked. But I think the fact that he actually pointed out that Bernie Sanders was a socialist, and honeymooned in the Soviet Union. Like, I was actually sort of surprised that he when we went there. So I'll give Anderson Cooper credit for that. Before the debate, we were concerned because at the Jake Tapper GOP debate of CNN, he basically pit candidates against each other, and Anderson Cooper came out before this debate yesterday and said that he wasn't going to put the candidates against each other. And I thought, well, that's not fair. If you're going to do it for one, you should do it for the other. But I would say overall, I think Anderson Cooper, given he does have a little track record, he could have done worse. And so I guess maybe my expectations were so low. The fact that he wasn't awful, I appreciated it.
Well, that's probably true. Although he does say some very awful things. I hate it whenever they make reference to this teabagging contest.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, and that's my. People are making him out to be this straight newsman, and it's like, well, I don't know how serious he is when he's using the teabagging phrase, and then also appearing on with Kathy Griffin doing vulgar things during the New Year's Eve show. So yeah.
Well, and as you point out, that teabagging comment is vulgar, and it's just nastiness, and I'm terribly offended when I hear that kind of nastiness coming out of someone who's purporting to be a professional in the news media. And I know that that's kind of why MRC is really even got founded, is because of the lack of professionalism that we've seen.
That's right. No, and yeah, I was sort of frustrated because I think some people thought Anderson Cooper was this. Well, he was very serious. He's like the old school newsman. It's like no, not if you're using those kind of phrases.
Yeah, and that, I guess, is why we have such a low expectation, because we know they lack professionalism, and that's what we expect from them. So if we get any higher quality, we're pleasantly surprised.
Right.
And so let's talk a little bit about last night's debate. Rick and I kind of opened the show with some of the things that we've seen out there on the internet, declaring that Hillary Clinton won the debate, and yet it seems like in some of the polls that were taken of listeners, they thought Bernie Sanders did the better job. Give us a little bit of a take on how you saw the questions, how they were answered, and just, did you think there was a winner or not? And was that ever even a part of the goal of that debate?
Well, it's interesting. I think, when I was watching the debate, I was also on Twitter, and I follow, I actually, in addition to conservatives, I also follow, liberal reporters and liberal people. And it was interesting to see among the liberal people in my Twitter feed that they felt Hillary Clinton was robotic, and they preferred Bernie Sanders. But if you're just going by style, I just personally, maybe I'm biased, but I just think Hillary Clinton's very off-putting. Bernie Sanders probably, maybe he seemed a little more relatable, but in terms of how he spoke. But when you realize he's a socialist, it's like, well, he's just insane. But what we're seeing though in this morning's coverage, the day after coverage, is a lot of people saying, well, Hillary Clinton did. A lot of journalists, like on Today's Show and Good Morning America, saying, well, Hillary did so well that there's no need for Joe Biden to get in, which is interesting. It's fascinating, I think, because it's like they're sort of like now sort of just construct a rally around Hillary, I suppose. But because they were there, I guess they were just nervous about Hillary being. They were looking for another Obama to bump off Hillary, but now they kind of seem to be rallying around her, like kind of just sort of getting ready to settle in for the long campaign.
Hey, Sharon, if I could ask, if I could jump in and ask Jeff a question. I think we found two things out about Bernie Sanders last night. One, he's such a romantic, he took his wife to Russia on a honeymoon. I think that was amazing. And something else, Jeff. He got the question about being a conscientious objector during the Vietnam War. He didn't serve. Up on the stage there was Jim Webb, who, because of the war, is now a cripple. But what he said was, in response was, about his conscientious objector, was he disagreed. He disagreed with the war, and that's why he didn't go. He disagreed with the theory of the war, why we went to the war. Not that he had any religious belief to keep him away. And I was wondering if you picked that up, and also, have you noticed, has any of the media picked that up today? That he admitted that he lied in getting out of the war in Vietnam.
Yeah, no, I have not seen that yet, and you're right. This is a good point. That there was back then respect for like I think Quakers traditionally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was he got out because he as you see me pointing out, he got it up for religious reasons, but because he just didn't believe in the war politically.
Mm-hmm. You know, there was another report yesterday that I was reading from some outfit called MRC. Have you ever heard of them, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, it's vaguely familiar.
Yeah, that during the Republican debate, that 74% of the questions were set up for the candidates to pick on each other.
Yes, that was my report.
Did you see that?
I went through the questions and counted them up, yes.
That was you, right. That's
yeah.
why I brought it up. But did you see that last night?
Again, Anderson Cooper said like ahead of time he was not going to do that, which I thought was really an obnoxious double standard because,
yes.
well, if you did it with CNN did it with the Republicans, why can't they do it with the Democrats?
Right.
Because it would be easy to, for example, ask, Bernie Sanders, hey, you're a socialist, you're a famous anti-corporatist, and, what do you feel about the fact that Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, while she was Secretary of State, the Clinton Foundation was accepting donations from foreign companies. Why not have Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton go back and forth on that issue? But for Bernie Sanders, last night, though, you had the email question finally comes up, and Bernie Sanders plays defense for Hillary Clinton, so go figure.
Yeah, and also talking about those MRC TV people, they did another study or another poll. More than 90% of MRC TV readers voting last night says that 90% of them thought that CNN's moderators of the debate were being biased. Do you think that? Do you think that if CNN was doing the similar poll, Jeff, do you think that a lot of those people would also see that the moderators were biased?
Yeah, it would be if CNN did a poll.
Yeah, if CNN did a poll like that.
No, I don't think so. I think, and it's interesting. If you include Anderson Cooper and then also Don Lemon and the other gentleman they brought on, you look at the track record and the liberals, and of course they're asking, the topics are quote unquote liberal democratic topics.
Yeah.
So that, going in, and so it would have been nice to see and refreshing to see an Anderson Cooper, ask about, because not once was the fact that the debt has exploded under the Barack Obama administration. That would have been nice to see a question about the debt.
It sure
there are all sorts of questions that they could have asked, but they didn't.
Hey, Jeff, could you do me a favor and just hold on, because we have to take a break. I interrupted Sharon. I know she has some other questions for you, but we need to take a 2-minute break. Could you hold on for us, please?
Sure.
You are listening to Commando's radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, and we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AM FM 24/7. Don't go away. We're speaking with Jeffrey Dickens from the Media Research Center, talking about last night's debate. We'll be right back.
They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-8575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Rick Trader and Sharon Engel, and our guest, Jeffrey Dickens, with the MRC, which is a media transparency group, if you will, that decides whether they're being biased or not. And we all know that, of course, they are, but we get to get a very good look at the bias that they do have. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, www, of course, crsnetwork.com or CRShow, no S, crshow.com, or mornings, 9 a.m., log on to the Leading Edge radionetwork.com, or at 1 p.m. log on to roarradio.net. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And we are talking with Jeff Dickens, who's the Deputy Research Director at Media Research Center, and he's currently writing for MCR's publications and outlets, including MCR.org and Newsbusters.org. And you did a great job with exposing, if you will, the media bias that goes on at CNN and other broadcast media, especially as it concerned the debate last night. And I want you to pick up there, Jeff, a little bit and just talk about the differences that you between the Republican debate on CNN and the Democrat debate, how they handle that differently. You and Rick were discussing that before the break, that you found that 74% of the questions to Republicans were go get each other, and yet they didn't do that in the Democrat side. What else did you see that was different?
Well, I think it was interesting that you had, in terms of the questions, again, there was obviously more on the like sort of Democratic type style questions related to that did allow the candidates to pontificate on their liberal stances. But it was interesting to see, even the audience reaction. So Jim Webb, they throw out a Democratic policy question on gun control. And, of course, you had, Hillary Clinton trying to get to the left of Bernie Sanders, and then, of course, Martin O'Malley trying to get to the left of Bernie Sanders. And then you had Jim Webb, who took the time to actually sort of offer some more favored Second Amendment rights, and he basically kind of just getting, a negative reaction from the liberal crowd there. So it was sort of odd to see that. It was like Jim Webb almost didn't really belong there.
Well, it's interesting as well that there was so much agreement across the panel, even when they did ask a question that you would have thought would have issued some kind of back and forth, like the email scandal that Hillary's in. They seem to just kind of back away and protect one another. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, you're right. You would have thought that, like a Martin O'Malley, if he was trying to, create some, actually make a name for himself, would go after Hillary Clinton, or even Lincoln Chafee, who famously says he doesn't have any scandals, would go after Hillary Clinton on the email scandal. But Bernie Sanders, for some reason, just felt like he needed to shut it down. And I think the other candidates saw the roar of the crowd, saying Bernie Sanders saying no more emails, and so that that was interesting to see that dynamic. But I would say this: the thing that Anderson Cooper, it took a long time to get to the email scandal. I think it wasn't until almost till 10 o'clock that it was brought up. The other thing is, no one brought up the Planned Parenthood scandal of the videos that we saw of the. In fact, Planned Parenthood was only brought up by Hillary Clinton herself when she was going on a tear against Republicans for trying to defund Planned Parenthood. But the one of the most controversial hot topics the last few months, the Planned Parenthood videos, that was not brought up by Anderson Cooper.
He didn't really want to bring up any of that stuff. That's the way I felt. He really was true to what he said. He wasn't going to pit them one against each other, and he didn't bring up the scandals. And as you pointed out, he really tried to showcase them, allowing them to talk about what their topics were. Is this something that we can just expect from the liberal media, that it's going to be different every time we see similar situations between conservatives and the progressives, that we're just going to get a whole different media cast on it?
Well, there is something interesting that's happened in this cycle that is different. I think some of the Republicans, particularly Ryan Priebus at the RNC, has taken the advice of those of us who are conservative critics of the liberal media, and said, don't just accept these liberal moderators at these debates, because if you remember the last cycle, you had George Stephanopoulos inject this whole birth control issue into this debate, into the Republican debate, and all of a sudden this whole war on women thing got going. So I do think who the moderators are, makes a difference. And although even, when the Republicans went on Fox News for their debate, it did see the Fox News anchors and hit Republicans in a way. So it's interesting to see just how the agenda of the questions, can really sort of shape the way a debate goes, and also set the tone for the rest of the campaign in how they cover, I would say, mostly unfairly, Republicans and conservatives.
Hey, Sharon and Jeff, that's why I think this whole idea of these debates is garbage. Mm-hmm. The moderators that set the tone, set the pace. Oh, they have time limits and all that. I think a real true debate is mano a mano, okay? You just put the candidates out there. Let them question each other, or let the audience question the candidates. These moderators, they try to make themselves stars out of doing this. They try to make it all about themselves rather than the candidates. Give me the candidates.
I think you're right on point. I mean, well, you remember during the Romney-Obama debate where Candy Crowley actually projected herself in there and inaccurately tried to correct Mitt Romney, and then yeah, you're right. I think it would be nice to see. I wouldn't mind seeing a debate where you had on the one hand a conservative radio talk show host.
Yes, like me and Sharon and I and Anna Little and Kevin Wade, and let's get those people from the Media Research Center into this.
Right, exactly. I think that would also be a lively and informative debate.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, we got to run. We want to thank you for joining us today. Please tell our audience where they could check out what you write, that of other good people at the Media Research Center and cnsnews.com and all that.
Yes, please go to newsbusters.org. You'll find links for all our debate coverage and, of course, all the coverage of the campaign 2016 it's getting hot. So come to newsbusters.org and check out, see how the media is covering the campaign.
Jeffrey Dickens, Media Research Center, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Take care. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, Sharon, we're getting last 2 minutes or so. I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host. I want to thank our guest today, Mike Gonzalez, Arthur Keene, our most recent guest, Jeffrey Dickens. And I want to remind our listeners out there that we have expanded the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. If you know of a show that would fit in with us, please contact me either through our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or contact me, Rick Trader, on Facebook. We're always looking for great new programming. So if you know of a show you would like us to know about, or if you're a producer that has a show that you'd like to link with us, please let me know. Sharon, I want to again thank you. I want to thank Mr. John Forsyth Jr. for working the boards. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Hi, folks. I'm Doug Driesel.
And Blaine Davis.
President Barack Obama. Get him out of here. But if you want your conservatism served up with a side of country comedy, then Doug and Blaine Explain the Game is for you. Coming to you from America's heartland, beautiful Cherokee Village, Arkansas, and Lake Paradise. Don't be fooled, folks. Both sides have their flaws, and Doug and Blaine Explain the Game will teach you how to get through this political season. Join us Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Tell them, Bill.
Doug and Blaine Explain.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.